Hey, it's me, Sam B. As some of you may know, we were forced to evacuate our offices in New York City when a coronavirus case was discovered in the building. Making a late-night show from home has been an always challenging, usually exciting, and occasionally pantsless journey that we thought people might be interested in. So we documented it. From the bread baking of early quarantine to the full-on civil rights movement that arose shortly after, through it all, we still made a show every week. Here's the full cut of our original series, Pandemic Video Diaries. March 11th was a crazy day. That is the last day that we shot an episode of the television show in the studio.
A number of us thought something huge is going to change this week.
And the funniest thing is it all happened that day.
You're waking up to a new normal today.
Fast-moving developments in this coronavirus emergency.
This crisis is growing intensely.
We are in the middle of a pandemic.
We just had a confirmed coronavirus in the building.
That's good. We got to go now.
Bye.
We found out shortly before the show that there was one positive case of coronavirus in our office and then one positive case of coronavirus in the studio side of our building.
Mike was running the rewrite at that point. And so I messaged Kristen,
don't panic.
We got to move this along. Can you let Mike know?
I took a second, like George Bush. I honestly was like, okay, how am I going to handle this?
We put it out to people. If you want to stay, stay. If you don't want to stay, please go. And people did.
And it was right before we taped.
We found out from Allison. She came to us as though she was going to fire us. She was like, I have something to talk to you guys about. Yeah. And Mike and I like kind of backed up like wounded animals. Like, what did we do?
Because we only recently got the position of head writer. And we were like, all right, it's not working. She's going to fire us.
And then she broke the news that we would have no audience. And we were like, okay.
We have wonderful staff members providing all the laughter. So they're going to be working very hard. We wanted to do the responsible thing and not have an audience. Okay, we have some people, but they work for us, and they are 6 feet apart as recommended by the CDC, and also because they hate each other.
Of course, Sam reads the script before she does a show, but she actually didn't read the last version because they said we're going to write some jokes in it just so things are really fresh for you. So she was laughing at jokes that she was reading for the very first time.
I'm Samantha B, and I'm responsible for 20 unsolved murders along the Florida Panhandle. God damn it, guys. And so as we were actually taping the show, they did shut the building down and start to evacuate parts of it.
And I don't know if any of us really knew this happened, which meant that they locked all the doors. And so we had a moment of like, are we stuck in the building?
It's almost like in a movie when you don't realize you're dead and you're locked in a mall.
The head sound person at TBS had to escort us like literally through like a channel through the building. We ended up going out through the freight elevator.
I really remember it because we all seem a bit shell-shocked, and then Anthony has this giant smile on his face. Like, you look like the happiest you've ever been.
When we walked out into the open, like there was a real sense of accomplishment. There was a sense like, you know, we got together, we had this really stressful day, but we ended up making a super funny show.
I definitely was scared for the world and for the staff and for everybody and everything. I didn't know what would happen. I had a general feeling that we wouldn't be shooting the show in the studio the following week.
We had told everybody like, okay, everybody work from home Thursday and Friday, but I think deep down all of us knew that we wouldn't be back to the studio for a while. And that was true.
I didn't think that was the last time I was going to see everybody, though. Which is good, because I would have cried.
Every person I've interviewed so far has just been like, man, my office plant is so dead right now.
Oh, yeah, we have a little plant.
We have a little plant that's definitely dead. But that's, you know, it's all right.
What a surprise! I was just putting out this arrangement for the Woodland Creatures. Could we do a show? Should we do a show? Is now a time when a comedy show is even an appropriate offering? There was a part of me that thought, okay, if we needed to shoot stuff, we could do it from our house outside of town. Then it was just a kind of a grab for stuff that I thought I would need. I literally packed a suitcase with blazers.
We had questions. We're like, where are you going to shoot this? Who's going to shoot it?
If we were going to do this, the only way we could do it is 100% safe. And 100% safe means that there's nobody at Sam's house except for her and her husband and her kids.
Fortunately, Sam is married to someone who makes television.
Hang on, I gotta check you for texts.
I'm busy carting your equipment around.
If my husband was an attorney, this show would look a lot different.
Quiet on set. Ready?
One of the executive producers of the show, Miles Kahn, put on a face mask and got a truck and brought a bunch of equipment up here, a couple of stands. It just kind of rolled a dolly into our garage and then fled.
We shot a couple of these being at homes where Sam was, chopping wood.
The being at home videos, they were sort of like a proof of concept that we could do this and make it broadcast quality, and it could be something that we could put back on the air.
I almost chopped my legs off shooting that. But it was really fun to do. The whole family went out there. My 14-year-old was operating the flex fill, and my youngest daughter was doing sticks. So she would go out and go
Frontal, act 4, take 1.
They fought over that job. That's a fun job. Until we really started telling them, it was cute, the first couple of times we were like, that's so great. And then afterward we were like, no, it's serious. This is act 2. It's act 2, take 1. And they were like, we don't want to do this anymore.
Mommy, why don't you shove those up your ass?
Kids. I think we just all needed some visual evidence that a show could be made without a studio. Hi, welcome to Full Frontal. I'm Samantha B, and I'm in the woods right now. My main worry that first day when we knew we had so much footage to upload, it takes a really long time to upload these complicated files. I really was prepared to drive into the city and throw my phone in someone's open window. And then we had to wait and see if the whole show could be assembled with everybody in their respective homes.
Everybody sort of took their own little cog in the wheel and figured out how to translate that to doing it from home. And then you put all those cogs back in the wheel and suddenly it was spinning again.
I always knew that we were a team, but there are things that happen from the outside in that really help you see that with complete clarity. And I think this was actually one of those great moments.
We haven't been making a sort of castrated version of our show. It's actually our show. It's just with trees instead of flashy lights.
It still takes every single person who works on the show to make this show possible. And I'm grateful to every single one of them. Where would I be? Well, just siphoning off Wi-Fi from a Walmart parking lot and trying to upload footage. So anyways, we did it. I don't need to pretend that we're living in some alternate reality where everything is fine. I'd rather explore the facets of this time in history.
It's a lot of news all of the time. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant.
The number of deaths here in the United States has just crossed 100,000.
1 in 7 Americans will likely know someone who has died from this disease.
Massive crowds swarming cities across the country,
decrying police brutality against Black Americans.
I don't know why the National Guard has moved into position.
We have a great country. That's my thoughts.
There's so much coming at you so often where literally something that was true 6 minutes ago, because now there's a tweet, is no longer true.
Our regular setup for the show is we have the show intro, we do a first act.
Act 1 is purely topical. It's whatever's happened in the last week.
Like everyone, I'm feeling angry and devastated that our country continues to fail to confront police brutality against Black people. It is so frustrating that this keeps happening.
We decide what the Act 1 is going to be in a free-for-all Slack meeting that is aggressive and insane, and hopefully we come out of it with an idea.
When a pitch comes in, I create a research packet that's just a very detailed information about what the pitch is, what ideas can be, so that the writers can read it and create an outline.
Me and Mike are the ones who outline what the show is going to be, what we're going to try to say.
And then they put in the jokes and, make it funny and relevant.
The only conversation in which we should be using the phrase bad apples is when we talk about Red Delicious. They are awful.
Like, I can give you all of this information that we have, but if the writers don't make it funny, you're not going to pay attention.
The writers rake off. They all write a piece of Act 1. And either us or the supervising writer, Joe Grossman, assemble that. Chris and I sort of go through it. We smooth it out as much as we can. And then we have a read-through of that script.
Sam sort of reads things alone in her room and like shuts the door while her kids are learning. She quietly whispers whatever curse words we've written into the script, which is a thing that is new.
Kristen and I and some of the research team and sometimes some of the writers will rewrite it that night to try to implement Sam's notes, fact-check notes.
Our fact-checker goes through every single word that comes out of Sam's mouth.
I don't think that we ever like skimp on the facts or play it loose with the facts in order to do the comedy. The fact-checking at Full Frontal is like much more serious than a lot of print publications that I've worked at.
We turn the script at the end of the day on Monday, and then Sam usually films on Tuesday.
We really hammer out more what the show's going to be ahead of time because of the shooting restraints with Sam in the woods.
We'll be right back. Can you turn your lawnmower off, sir?
I feel like we use every single device and every single platform.
We Zoom to the Google to the Slack. I never really know where my next meeting's going to be. And then I just hope somebody sends me a link. And then I just have these like night panics where I'm like, am I the person who's supposed to make the link?
And so that's been a really challenging thing from home, is figuring out how to do those communications, but through like, oops, sorry.
Right now, we're entirely weather dependent. So I'm looking at the forecast to see when we can shoot our show. And really, it's going to be a big problem if I look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it's all rain.
What the is happening?
I think the writers are doing great. What's happening all over the world is historic, and it is vital that we talk about that on this show. And as always, they're just nailing the tone exactly right and overcoming whatever personal anxieties they're feeling in the moment, as we all are.
It's not about saying everything's great now, you guys are going to be okay, but it's about validating, yes, you felt bad, and it's okay that you felt bad, and you're not exaggerating your feelings.
We're right there with them, and we're just as frustrated about everything that's going on, and we're just as angry.
And I think our show has always embraced like a certain degree of activism, and that makes me really proud.
I don't know if our show gives people hope. I think we are just trying to be honest, you know?
Scene one, take one, mark. Field has a pretty heavy burden. Those are really challenging to shoot, and we're totally thinking about different ways to shoot those.
Field is basically responsible for all of the elements of the show that are outside the studio. So anytime Sam is out there talking to people in the world, or anytime you're seeing something that's not in the studio, that's Field. It's basically just like the funny documentary part of the show. Every Field piece is led by the field producer, who also is the director of the piece.
We say, hey, here's a terrible, awful thing that's happening in the world. Let's tell it in this funny fashion.
And sometimes there'll be a specific joke that we'll have pre-planned that we want to deliver. Sometimes that joke is also advancing the narrative of the story we're trying to tell.
So you come up with ideas for stories, go out and interview people, and then you come back and you write the script and supervise the edit, and voila, you have a Field segment.
A lot of what we do now is the same thing, but over Zoom.
In a job where your job is to be funny, you have meetings that are literally, they're jokers. They're called jokers. You come up with certain jokes for the segment that you're working on. And when they go well, it's the best experience in the world. It's harder now.
Laughing in a room and slapping each other on the back has become us typing into a Google document like this, and then like reading someone else's joke and being like,
oh, that's funny.
That's really funny.
That's funny.
Obviously, yeah, you lose some of like the physical gags that we could do.
It's kind of fun though, like for interviews, it's so much easier to actually like go from the yes to the production, because I think everybody is stuck at home.
Everybody's really putting their mind to like, what are the fun ways that we can play with Zoom?
I was kind of like, guys, this is a dumb idea, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Should we get one of those robots and do Man on the Streets with a robot?
I feel like Raz has been obsessed with that robot for a while.
We have Sam remoting into the robot, and then we're going to film the robot interacting with people on the street.
And so the tie-in with COVID is telemedicine. These actual robots are used to provide things from like going into an ICU when a doctor doesn't have enough PPE to like providing stroke care.
And then a lot of the humor just came from bringing it around the parks.
What I miss most of all is going out and just observing people, because often that's the most delightful and entertaining stuff that you can find.
Personally, I'm really into European dramas.
Just people being people.
It was our first time like doing, something kind of resembling a shoot. And it was really fun to play with that weird robot.
So Ishan is the AP on this piece.
The role of an AP during COVID is sort of to make sure everything is organized and that a producer and the editor has all the footage they need to start an edit, and then work with the assistant editor to make sure all that gets loaded.
What we're doing is we're entering into these like Zoom edit rooms.
And we screen share to figure out like what the edit currently looks like.
I'm in my closet right now.
And then kind of pull it together based on that.
Generally, edit bays are pretty small, but what I've learned is that they're not as small as my closet.
I'm standing with a thick blanket over my head to record a voiceover. Isn't TV glamorous?
I think that if the story is interesting enough, it's compelling enough, people will easily forget that it doesn't quite look like a regular piece.
Will you go for a bike ride with me?
Of course, I'd love to.
Look at us! We're riding together! Y'all know me, know how I earn a living.
No, actually, not really.
Seriously? I've had my own show on TBS for like 3 years.
Cold opens.
They were like a whole operation. Wardrobe and multiple cameras.
They required so much planning.
Often celebrities do them. Hi, tiny glorious Dinah.
It's all right, don't be afraid.
We're all witches.
There was a huge crew, there was production, and now it's me, Sam, and Jason. Sam and I were in a sketch shoot called The Atomic Fireballs, and Jason would shoot us.
There was like this series of dumb commercials for this rosé in Canada that just like the people were just like having the most terrific time, and we were like, what if we do a rosé commercial and then just a dead body floats by? And we were like, Jason, can you film it? He was like, what?
We drove him nuts. It feels to me we've gone back in time a little bit.
It very much goes back to our sketch roots. All of this collaboration really goes back to those days.
She'll say something like, yeah, I'm gonna dye my hair.
Any of you other kids want to get in there?
No, this is embarrassing.
Or I want to do like a workout thing.
No, a lot of you are going stir crazy because you can't get to the gym. I'll tell you what the best gym in the world is, nature.
And I was like, you're not gonna be able to do any of that.
For the amount that people have worked me out over the years, I should be so fit and strong. The reality is that I'll walk away from this and go eat like a lot of pimento cheese. There's nothing that you can do as an adult to make up for the amount of mall shopping I did when I was growing up and not exercising.
And that's the joke. She emails me disappointed that I couldn't climb a tree, and I'm like, great.
And so then we'll take all of that footage and I'll upload it, and then Elena and an editor will work together and just like pull it together into something.
The way that we would normally edit a piece is we would be in this really lovely edit suite. Now he's in his bedroom. He's a 3-year-old.
What's this?
What's what?
Da.
I'm in my bedroom.
You eat burritos?
No. It's just how I smell now.
We do have a shorthand at this point where she knows she can give me half an hour of footage. I can look at it and go, this is the funniest minute 30. And I think that she has that in other areas of the show as well. And I think that that really, really helps us do a show like this remotely.
I'm also just kind of having fun. It's renewed a sense of like playfulness. It's just fun to run around in the forest with my husband and my kids.
Uh-oh, is that Ellen?
No, I think that's Busy Phillips. Run!
Ah, my family needs to wipe with your silky blue fur!
Like, a person could see me and Jason making the show in the backyard and our kids helping and go, like, look at you guys, it's a miracle what you're doing. Like, you're really doing it yourselves. But the truth is, there are 70 people working on this show from their homes. It takes a lot of people to make this show, even in this form.
We've really entered this like dystopian reality where so many people in this country can't even agree on the basic facts. So just to be able to shout some facts at people feels good and somewhat productive.
I think it's incredibly important to have a show like this on during this time. It gives people a sense of solace. Like, it gives people a place to go to know that their voices are being heard.
We hope to be cathartic on some level when we're watching what the administration is doing and we are commenting on it, and we're doing so in a way that a journalist cannot.
Full Frontal has to stay on the air because it is the #1 most important news source for everyone in the country. No,
I don't think we're the news, but I think that we are a welcome break from the news. I think right now there's a lot of people who are stressed and who are sad and who are lonely, and if we can make them laugh and we can teach them something, even if it's something small, that's really all you can do right now.
We see everybody on staff like they're family members. Putting out a product, that's something that we love to do, but it's also something that allows us to support our family members and to have them all have incomes and to be able to lead as normal lives as possible with as little stress as possible.
We just want people to feel like they are safe. You just want people to feel like there's one thing in their life that is constant and that they are working and they can rely on that. That is so important when the world is crazy.
This team of people that we work with is truly like the most incredible team of people I've ever worked with. They're all super smart and super motivated, and we're all perfectionists. Everybody, you know, A is not good enough. Everybody's always striving for that A+ in every single thing that we do. And just to see, especially in this situation, people rise to that occasion and figure out how to make their jobs work from home has really been incredible.
I feel like I'm at the Oscars just like thanking everybody.
I'm just like, kudos, kudos, kudos. Good game, good game, good game.
Sam's like a great leader, and we're all very lucky to be working for her. And I think that our show is doing something in the sense that it's making some people laugh.
I think I'm learning like how much at work we feed off of our interactions with our coworkers, you know, and you get ideas that way. And to not have that, it's hard.
We certainly are not going to be going back to the way that we did things before anytime soon. Like, who's going to be in an office? Like, the minute that the self-isolating is released a bit, it's not like all 70 of us are going to pile into an office together and just like hang out like nothing ever happened. Everything is different. The way we shoot things will have to be different. We'll probably have to scale down a whole bunch of stuff in a way.
But you know, doing something in person is kind of, it feels like you really can't replace that.
And I really miss, God, I miss catering so much.
We have a massive cake problem in our office. We buy a lot of cake.
I miss our office bagels so much. I miss our dirty office kitchen. I miss the forks being stolen. I miss smelling other people's lunches. You know, I miss all of it. I miss the day-to-day weird interactions.
I've learned a lot doing the show this way. I've learned how, well, not to be dorky about it, but I have learned that we really can do it. I think our show looks polished. I think it's as good as ever.
So I expect a goddamn cake, is what I'm trying to say. Chocolate, please. Thank you.
It's good for me to actually say the history of this out loud because I'll definitely forget. Because I forget everything. I'm terrible with birthdays and like anniversaries. Like, it's a miracle I even remember my own birthday. If you liked this video, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments below. And if you didn't like this video, I'm sure you've already left a comment. Thank you so much.